God gives salvation. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. John 3:16. For God so loved the world. In other words, Jesus says, God loved the world in this way. He so loved the world. Well, what way is that exactly? How did God love the world? For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. To paraphrase pastor and theologian Dane Ortland for a moment, John 3:16 teaches us that God, the greatest person ever, gave the greatest gift ever, which displayed both the greatest generosity and greatest love ever known. God gave us his only Son, Jesus. But in saying he gave his only Son, we now find ourselves bumping into another question. What does it mean that God gave his Son? In order to understand the nature of this gift of his Son, we need to briefly expand our search. You see, when Jesus speaks the words of John 3:16, he is in the middle of a longer conversation with a man named Nicodemus, a teacher and religious leader of the Jews. Just prior to this famed verse, Jesus tells Nicodemus the following in John 3:14 and 15. He says this, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life." Most people don't read these verses together, but they should. You see, these verses teach us exactly how God gave his Son. Jesus reaches all the way back to the Old Testament, recalling a time when, because of Israel's disobedience in the wilderness, God sent what can only be described as a swarm of poisonous serpents into their camp. Many were being bitten and dying, and in his despair, Moses cried out to God on behalf of the people. He said, "Lord, have mercy on us." So God, in his mercy, instructed Moses to craft a bronze serpent and to lift it up high in the camp. And an amazing thing happened. Whenever a person was bit, they would simply look at the bronze serpent lifted high on the pole, and they would live. So why does Jesus reference this story when describing his coming? Why does Jesus reference a bronze serpent on a pole when teaching us about the generous gift of God in sending his Son? Well, because this is how God gave his Son. He gave Jesus, his one and only Son, to come and be lifted up on the cross that all might look to him and live. You see, just as the serpent was lifted up, so too was Jesus. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. He is our salvation. Look to him and live. As we close out our second week in these devotionals, in which we've seen some of the ways that God is a generous giver to us, which one of the gifts from God do you see a particular need for in your life today? Is it rest, provision, strength, salvation? Spend some time praying and thanking God for his loving generosity towards us. Perhaps journal in a notebook or some other paper that you have handy and to recount the evidence of God's blessing in your life.